Good afternoon, everybody. Happy Wednesday. This is Leah and Ryan from Pigeonauctions.com here with your Wednesday Fepa, Ryan, and friends. We actually do have some friends on today, which we're going to introduce you to in a moment. Ryan, I'm going to send it over to you, and I'm going to check to make sure we are live on Facebook and on YouTube. If you want to say hello to everyone, maybe introduce today's special guest. Go ahead, Ryan.
No problem, Leah. Welcome, welcome. Sorry about the lateness today. I had a very, very special person come and visit me today at the LOFTS. So I kind of got tied up. My apologies, but don't worry. Good things come to those who wait. Yes, we're going to have some friends on today. A super flyer is on with us today. I want to thank you guys for tuning in. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe. Subscribe. That's the best tip you can do. You don't have to buy me a drink. You don't have to say you're doing a great job. Just subscribe. And if you do subscribe and you meet me and I'm out somewhere, I'll buy you a beer or a beverage of your choice. But this is I guess this would be our first real inaugural show. And what a way to start. Leah, I think we should head over to the UK. I think that's a great place to start. I don't think you can ever go wrong with the UK. They've got the Queen. They've got John Gladwin from Formula One. I'm pumped up, man. Let's get. And he looks good today. He looks pumped. Look at him. I think he flies airplanes. How's it going, John?
I'm all good. How are you, Ryan?
I'm all right. I didn't know. Are you a pilot?
Yeah, I wish. Just nice. Sort of headphones that I use quite a lot for work when I've been working from home. So.
This is unbelievable. I want to thank you for coming on with us. Guys, remember, if you have questions for John, now is the time. Be patient, put them in. We're going to try to get you all your questions. Again, it's going to be about an hour show. We're going to give you some great information. If you guys have questions, again, you know what to do. Ask. You don't get nowhere unless you ask. So, John, since I've been there, since you came back from the Golden Doif, which I see your beautiful little China doll there in the background. Yeah. How are things going with you? How has the race season started?
Yeah, it's not too bad. It's been going to be another strange season. We're still trying to work out whether we can actually get to France to race or not this season. So the inland short races have started. This weekend coming, we should be on our national races from France, but we still can't get across. So we're only going to Guernsey, which is basically a little island between the UK and France. Until we can get the go-ahead to go across, which we're hoping maybe start of June, middle of June, we're hoping. But it's a ever-changing scenario. So every week it seems to be a slightly different set of circumstances to whether we're going to get across or not. So it's very difficult to plan too much as it stands, because we don't know if we're going to spend the season doing 200-mile racing or whether we're going to get out to 500-600 miles. So it's not always easy to plan your season and what you're doing at the moment. But been promising starts. We've had 5 short races inland, ranging from 70 miles to 150. We have a free bird clocking rule in our organisation, so only your first 3 pigeons count for any member on any race. So out of a possible 15 positions that could be won in the top 30, we only show the top 30, even though there's between 1,200, 2,000 birds been going. So out of a possible 15 positions I could have won, I've won 13 in total. That's at the federation level. So dropped 2 that I could have potentially had. On the other occasions, I've had 5, 6 pigeons all on the drop together, but only the first 3 on the clock actually make the result. So overall, it's been going quite well.
Yeah, so you're getting some good results already right from the start. But I know you're itching to go across the water. That's what really turns your crank. So exactly. At what point do you think it's going to be a go or it's going to be a no-go?
Well, yesterday we got a bit more news to say that we've all basically got to register with DEFRA, who's the UK agency, government agency that looks after basically poultry and animals in general. We've all got to register with them. They're actually setting up a website for us to do that, which will hopefully go live on the 24th of May. then it's just about how quick they can be processed. And everybody, I presume, will get some kind of registration number, which we then need to enter to get across into France. So it's how quick DEFRA then act to get them on board. I mean, hopefully, if all went really well, we could be looking mid-June. But unfortunately, we're being controlled by the government agencies, which is never a great place to be.
and saying that, so then you should already start crossing the water now into France. How far will this put you behind? Like, are you going to lose races, or are they just going to adjust?
To be seen. The information's only come yesterday. I suspect the national clubs will adjust their program, hopefully, and we will, where we will have already been in the long races, we'll have to start with some middle distance races and then build up to the longer ones maybe a bit later on.
Okay. And these pigeons that you fly, the Francois pigeons, they're good in all distances. And they started off great here in the sprint. So they've actually had now 2 seasons of only really sprint racing. Is that correct?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, last time 2020, we did get some longer races, but even then it was a very short season because of COVID and bird flu issues. We didn't actually start until the second Saturday in June. So that was quite a short season, even in 2020. Last year we didn't go, didn't get any channel racing at all. I did switch some of them North Road just for one race, just to get 500 miles under their belts on some of the older pigeons, but in a completely different direction to what they used to.
So your Formula One army is what you're saying is it's real rested and ready to go. I mean, you're really,
Hopefully, fingers crossed. So we've tried to sell them up a little bit. If we only get the 200 miles races, so we're working at them sort of middle distances at the moment now, or sprint to middle. So,
and my next question for you, John, is how is your young birds doing? How is your breeding and weaning, letting them out? How are they doing in general up to this point?
Yeah, they're good. Everything's weaned across now. It was about 10 days or so ago. The last ones were weaned across for my race team. So, yeah, they're all there. They're all settling in nicely. I don't have early youngsters. There's been a kind of a trend in the UK, especially in the last few years, to breed earlier and earlier. For me, it never works with timing wise with work and stuff. It's hard enough for me to try and get the old birds ready in the early part of the season for racing. So trying to let young birds out in March or April, that really doesn't work. So it's only now that the light is getting longer that I get a chance to get home from work or before work to let them out for an exercise. So.
And your young bird breeding, I know here in Canada, I've heard lots of people having not the best seasons for breeding, sickness or problems. Or I don't know. It's happening here a little bit. Over there, what's your success? Is the success good? The people are breeding good, healthy young ones, or is there a lot of people chattering? Oh, I got sickness. What have you heard? Or
at the moment, it's not been too bad in the UK. I've not heard too many people with big problems. You always get a few, obviously. I mean, our own breeding has gone really well. We've bred superbly even out of the older pigeons. We was quite lucky. I think it was reasonably mild earlier on, even when you was over. It was quite mild for the UK. The breeding's gone really well. Some of the older pigeons that in the last year or two have started to fill a bit later in the season actually come out and was filling from the first round. So we couldn't be more pleased with our breeding season. Mine and John's loft, Quiet John, his loft is both got their youngsters. We've met our orders. So now the ones that are in the nest at the moment, they'll be the ones for ourselves, obviously, during the winter.
Hey, I was thinking this question. I know you have some pigeons there that are quite old or quite long in the tooth, whatever you would want to call it. They've bred a lot of years for you, 10, 12-old pigeons, 13-year-old pigeons, etc. when you look at a family of pigeons, is that something that you look at? Like, let's just say you're going to go buy Barry's pigeons. He's got great pigeons in Belgium or Holland or whatever. His name's Barry. And all of his pigeons stop breeding at 8, 9 years old. Is that something that you look at?
It's something that possibly in the criteria. I mean, I think the longevity in the breeding season also shows the strength and the constitution of the pigeons themselves. Pigeons that finish early, you got to question how strong they are. Also, pigeons that don't race for very long, pigeons that are finished at 2 years old, I always have concerns about because I kind of wonder what they're being filled up with to be finished at 2 years old. So,
Yeah, I get what. Yeah, no, I know what you're saying. You want to see pigeons 3, 4, 5 years old. Great to see, because this way you're not going to be pumping. I hate to use it, drugs into the pigeons.
Exactly.
You burn them out. So that's another thing you look for. Very, very interesting on your thoughts on that. So.
Yeah.
So you look for the age.
Yeah, I mean, as I told you when you was over before, I've got a 7-year-old hen. She's already scored twice this year for me. She's 7, still racing. And she's raced every year of her life, and she's raced from the north, from the south, from the channels. She's been everywhere, that hen, but she's still doing the business. So at 7 years old.
She's asking you. She's asking you, can I please go to the breeding loft? Come on, John. Hey, now, let me ask you a question. That hen there, I mean, that's consistent. You've had, 5 races or 6 races here. You've already put her in the money again 2 times. What stopped you from breeding her?
The reason that she's never made the stock loft is that she's pretty much barren. When you pair up at the start of the year with a cock, she very rarely lays, and the same at the end of the year. So that's the reason. If she was a really good layer, she would have gone to the stock loft probably 2 or 3 seasons ago. But there's no point. I'd pull her in the stock loft. Be lucky if I got 1 or 2 eggs out of her in the season. So
when you're flying a hen of that age or a cock in your season, how hard will you push her? I mean, how many weeks will she go consistently? How far will she go? When will you break her or stop her?
So there's no set rules. So they will go every week while they're fit and healthy. They will race as the distance increases over 300 miles, especially if we go to the channel, because the channel does take a bit more out of the pigeon than it does inland racing. But then they may get a week's rest in between 2 channel races. So they may do 300, say, this weekend. Then they'd get the next weekend off, as in they wouldn't race. Even if my pigeons have the week off, they will normally get a 50, 60 mile training toss on the weekend. So either on the Saturday or the Sunday by car. Or if we have a short race inland, they will go into that race, and then they go again 300 odd miles the following week again.
So you kind of go on and off. Now, a question: when you take them, your 50 miles, you're in Essex, is that correct?
Yeah.
Am I right?
Yep.
Okay. And I was looking. Maybe Leah will be able to throw up that map. I was looking from where I think your birds cross. Maybe this is right. Maybe this is wrong. You are roughly where the little red dot is. Yep. Now, do you take the pigeons towards France, or do you take them up? Do you go up into England?
Well, no. So when we're racing on the south, they will go along the bottom of the coast. So we will go out as far as we can, which isn't actually that far. If we go to Brighton, it's about 50 odd miles to my loft. Brighton, sort of, that's pretty much as far as you can go on the coast. That's online. Okay. So then our inland racing, our sprint racing, if you like, we'll run along the coast towards sort of the we don't go as far as that, but out towards Cornwall. So we really actually race. When we say we race South Road, we really actually race from the west to the east.
Wow. You go along the water there. That's right.
Yeah, and then obviously when we go into France, then we go properly south. But but we can't get the distance to race actually on a direct south route.
So that little photo I put up, that's exactly how your birds sort of cross. They pick that shortest little spot there and they jump it.
Yeah, I mean we don't know for sure, obviously, but we believe that the pigeons will come through and will cross around the Brighton area for us to win. It's obviously wind dependent. Sometimes, if there's a very strong wind in either direction, they will cross at a different point. But if they do that, then we know that we're not winning. So if they go too far around and cross in at Dover, then we're not going to be winning anything because the distance that the guys at Dover in them sort of areas in between us to the overfly is not sufficient. And the same is if they cross too far down, Kevin Zeffra, for argument's sake, down in Portsmouth there, if they cross down there, the pigeons have got 100 miles to fly, but we're only getting 40 odd miles overfly. So, it's if they don't cross at the right point from France to the UK, then we'll be an hour plus behind. So again, you need the intelligent pigeons, even in strong winds, to hold them lines and stick on that line and cross it through the channel.
I know when I went from down where you guys are up to Paul McAloney, it constantly felt like I was going up a hill. I don't know if that's right, but is it from France to where they got to go? Is it the same thing? Is it still an uphill climb? It feels, I mean, I did that whole from the bottom to the top, man. I thought the whole time I'm going uphill. It felt like I was going up a mountain. Is that the same way?
The terrain is different. But again, as you come through the bottom end of the country, you've got quite a few sort of hills and valleys, which is again why we like to, especially our youngsters, actually train down at Brighton. It's not the easiest training toss to drive to give them, but they have to see that terrain because the first couple of times that they go through that, it's a bit different. So and they've got to learn to come over hills and through valleys and stuff like that a bit more. And Scotland is exactly the same. As you get up, you get lots of, as you see, lots of hills, lots of valleys. And the pigeons have got to pick the right ones to go through and also then try and dodge the peregrines at the same time.
Yeah, another question. When you're training your old birds or your young birds and you are allowed to go into France, will you take them actually into France? Because how far? Because really, that from where you are to where the water is, how far is that? What is it? 100 miles, 50 miles?
So if we actually went just into France, and let them go, it'd be about 90 miles if we let them go sort of on the coast there in France to my loft. Yes, I have done in the past. Only old birds. I've took them to France. Pigeons I wanted for the internationals. In fact, pigeon I call Lazy Bones that won the second national from Narbonne, 580 miles. He actually in 2020, and because we didn't start till late and we hadn't had much racing, I actually took him and singled him up from France. Well, actually in Belgium, just into the Belgium, I let him go and singled him up as a training toss in between the races, just to get him thinking, give him some time on the wing, and make him cross that channel all by himself.
So you made him do it all by himself. You went there for basically one bird.
Well, I did take 6, but I singled them all up sort of over about a 2-hour period. So they basically all had to do it by themselves. So
wow, unbelievable! And you see the dedication. And to get to France, how hard is it for you to get? You got to take a ferry, don't you?
Ferry or the train, yeah. So there's a train to the Channel Tunnel, so we can go through that. So
another question. I know you go and you meet pigeon people from all over. Hold on, there's a pigeon gentleman here at the door. It's down by the loft. It's just you don't need it. Just go to. Sorry about that. You talk to a lot of pigeon people all over, and you've tried lots of things. What's something that you've tried maybe that you thought was going to work and it never worked? or something that sounded great. Like you think of something and you go, someone shows it to you and you try and it doesn't work.
The
Or something
one,
crazy that you thought would work that didn't work.
I think the one thing that I've tried numerous times, and every time I say I don't know why I try it again, but I know so many people that swear by it, is pairing the pigeons up on, say, if you're basketing on a, say, Thursday, pairing them up on a Wednesday afternoon, giving them plenty of straw, letting them run together overnight, and then basketing them. So many people have great success with that, and they say you can do it once a year and pick your main race. Every time I've tried it, it's been an absolute disaster. I've had some of the worst races ever doing that, but yeah, but then lots of people swear by it, and lots of really good fanciers swear by it. So, but for me, it just never works.
Now, why do you think it hasn't worked for you? What do you think? Like, what's your reason on why you don't think it works?
I wonder if, in a lot of ways, and maybe it's the strain of pigeons. They're quite a dominant strain of pigeons anyway, and they're very territorial. And I wonder if it hypes them up too much, and then they've wasted all their energy in the basket. They're too pumped up, too keen. And by the time the liberation comes, and you're going to do it on a big race, so they've been in the basket for 2 days. Maybe they've spent all their energy desperate to get out at that point. That's the only conclusion I've come up with. But maybe with more, real long distance pigeons are a bit more laid back. They're a bit more relaxed in them baskets, and then that you can get away with that. You'll just bring them up a notch. But I don't know. But that's my only conclusion that I've come up with in my own mind. But
yet you still try it, eh?
Yeah, I've tried it probably 7 times over the years, and it's. But yeah, to say I've never had a good result with it. So not with the whole loft. Obviously, I just try a few pigeons sometimes, and But yeah, it's I say not been a great success. But I mean, generally speaking, I would go. I think the biggest disappointments really is always when people talk about supplements. You get sucked in even now sometimes. It's you see and hear of your friends and that. Oh, I've used this, and you really see the difference. I've used most products over the years, and I can honestly say 99.9% of them are pretty much useless. It's.
Don't sell any feed or nothing, John. Don't worry. Again, it comes down to that saying. You can't win out of a bottle. I mean, maybe does it help that smidge? Okay, but you still need the thoroughbred pigeons, man. You need the work machines. You need the ones with the brains, and you need that good system. Normally, so people don't know, how roughly will you fly your birds week in and week out? Your old birds.
What do you mean? Sorry,
how will you normally fly them? Just a quick rundown, just a little bit. You show them before you go to the race, or when they come home.
Yeah, I mean, it depends kind of what's happening a little bit, like with work and things like that, to what happens to them. If in an ideal world, if I've got the time, I do a bit what I would call this year I'm flying it's been called the chaos system, where literally there's the hens and the cocks are on a widowed, if you like. It's not a roundabout because they all will trap to their own sections all week, which are completely separate. The cocks have one section, the hens have another. And then on a Friday, if I've got the time, I will slide the door open. The hens will go straight into the cock sections. And then they're just left for 2-3 minutes. They pick their mates at random. So if a mate's been lost, they will find another one. And then both the hens and the cocks are basketed for the race, and exactly the same when they come home. Traps are open, all the interior doors are open. They get the run of the whole loft. Cocks and hens go in, and they're just left to it. The boxes are all open. They've all got a nest bowl, and depending on the race, whether that's an hour later or 4 hours later, if it's a bit harder race, I will go in and then just separate them all back. hens will go back to their sections, cocks stay in theirs, and then they fly out or train during the week, but they'll go back to their own hen section or cock section. The hens don't trap to the cock section again until the following Saturday.
Right. So you don't overly hype them up too much. You just let them know that it's there, and that's great. Leah, any questions coming in?
We do have some questions for John, and guys, don't be shy. This show works best when we're all interactive. So if you have questions for Ryan or John, now is the time. Angry Brit over on YouTube says Leon C. Legend is John. He's also asking, I think, with regards to registering your birds over there. I imagine he's from the UK, seeing as his name is Angry Brit. He's asking, are we going to have to register with a vet and get one loft visit a year? John, do you know?
Well, not for sure. I mean, we're going to have to definitely register with DEFRA. I suspect we'll have to register with a vet. The loft visit, I think, is going to be probably put back to next year at least. It won't be for this year. And as far as I understand it, just in the next question, is that we're certainly at the moment we're okay to vaccinate the pigeons ourselves.
Okay, so that answers his next question. Then we had a question.
I'm not in the so I'm not I don't have insider knowledge to this. This is just interpreting what the RPRA have put out and whatever. So it's and it's as I said earlier, it's a weekly changing scene. So we don't know anything for 100%, but that's what we know at the moment. So.
And let's remind everybody and maybe give a shout out to your club. What's the name of the club that you fly in? Maybe you want to give them a shout out.
So we have two. My actual club where we mark is the Holbridge Flying Club, and then the organisation that's affiliated to is the Thames Northeastern Counties.
And how many club members in your club do you have? And then how many in your, I guess you guys call it a federation there or whatever, how many do you have in the federation or combine?
Yeah, so in the club, in the Holbridge Club, we have 22 members, I believe. In the Thames itself, there's around about 160 members currently. And then obviously the nationals, they're open to the whole country. I don't know exact membership of them, probably around 2,000 plus, I would think.
Excellent.
So, and my other question was will the vets or what you guys are doing, is that only for the channel racing? So if you're only going across, you have to get checked out or whatever. It's only for people doing the distance. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's actually been confirmed today that if you don't fly from France, you don't need to register or have the loft visits from the vets. Okay. So it's only if you want to go across into the channel, which hopefully should make it easier, because we was worried at one point that 30,000 plus fanciers may all have to register, which is obviously going to take some time. But hopefully, that's going to be reduced with the people that don't go across. So, hopefully that will quicken the process.
Well, the vets were going to get rich on that one, eh? 30,000?
Exactly. Yeah.
You should become a vet, John.
ABC Loft is asking, and I think what he's asking here is if feeding a pigeon once per day is good enough, 80% barley, 20% racing mix. What are your guys' thoughts on that?
Me personally, when racing, I like to feed them twice a day because they will exercise twice a day. So they should, then get the feed after the exercise. I feed them quite light in the morning when they come in. But in the evening, they will get a good feed. And there is no set amount. I don't weigh how much they have. It's very much by eye. It's by looking at the previous race. How much did that take out of the pigeons, and what the next race looks like. I mean, I'm from Sunday morning. I am studying the forecast for the following week straight away. Is that going to be a headwind? What distance is it going to be from the race point? What's the weather like? And you have to feed accordingly. There is no actual real set way you can feed because it's not the same. I know many people that write down everything they do and have a great season and then try and follow it the next year, and it doesn't work because simply different conditions, different year means different circumstances. This year, we've only had 5 short races, but they've all been pretty much into an east winds, right on the Pigeon's nose. It's been cold, cold east winds, northeast winds. That's very different to next year where we might get 5 races with strong southwest winds and the Pigeons are, doing 1900 yards a minute instead of 1200 yards per minute. So, you've got to adapt each day, if you like, and certainly each week.
Yeah, and before you ask the next question, Leah, what a lot of people think is they're going to write it down, they're going to read it the next year and follow it. But what people a lot of times they forget when they're writing things down is put the key facts. Race 1 was 100 miles. I won it. It was a 15-mile-an-hour tailwind. So what you did probably in that book might work for a tailwind, but if the next season you hit it on a headwind and you didn't write, tailwind, headwind, you don't write that stuff down. It's by feel. Pigeon racing is by feel, and every year is not the same. And I think that's what John's really saying. You got to watch them and put the time into them and study what's going on around you. What the weather's going to be like, what's the winds are going to be like, and go from there. So, watch writing everything down because sometimes you'll put yourself off course. I think that's what you're saying, right, John?
Yep, very much so. Yeah. And also the second part of that question was about 80% barley. My race birds never see barley, never ever see barley. Not during the season. We'll put some in maybe during the winter or just after they've finished being paired before the season starts, just to bring the weight down a little bit. I don't break the pigeons down at all. They're on for since 3 weeks before the season started. The only feed they've had is Jerry Plus. They've had nothing else whatsoever from Varsalaga. And as and when the distance may in France, then I will add, superstar or high fat mixes in. But for races 250 miles or less, I think Jerry Plus is completely sufficient. But not to break them down.
Good feed. Good. That's a good feed. It's not super heavy. It's exactly what you said. It keeps the birds light enough. They won't bulk up, but they can give you a good 250 miles, 270 miles. You even get 300 out of it if it's a tailwind, no problem. Yeah, that's a good mix. And so you're not. How long ago? Because I know all over people break pigeons down. They go 3 days barley, and then they bring them up, and they go a roller coaster. How long ago did you ever do that? Or
Yeah, 100% in the past. Yeah, used to be a big believer of the purity of, or even just barley early in the week. But probably 7-8 years ago, maybe even slightly more now, that I stopped doing that. I don't see any point in it. I think keep the pigeons on an even keel. You can build them up towards the race day in a different way. Same with the water. I think I never have during the race season. My pigeons never ever have anything go in the water. If I'm going to give them anything, or if they need treatment, I will always make sure it's powder form and can go on the food. If I have the pigeons tested and they say you need to treat for canker, always get either a pill or the powder form, so it will go on. That's able to go on food. My pigeons have clean water, right through the racing season, because I think a big problem is people add stuff 5 days a week, and then pigeons are dehydrated before they go in the basket because they don't drink properly.
Hey, so you won't use even an electrolyte, or like I know Versalaga sells a recoup, nothing like that, just water?
Just plain water, yeah. My drinkers never have anything in during the racing season other than plain water.
Interesting. You said you put any medication that you'll either give it a pill form or powder that can go on the feed. I know I was talking with Xavier Verstrada, and he said the same thing. He loves to put, if he's giving medication, he likes to put it on the feed.
Yeah.
So he says he feels some birds don't drink properly. They don't maybe like the taste of it. It's a little bitter, a little sour. I don't know.
Well, if you think about it from our point of view, if you're working out in the sun all day, you don't drink, you're dehydrated, you become confused, disorientated, you're not performing at your best by any stretch when we're dehydrated. Exactly the same with the pigeons. And if you look when you put stuff in the water, they dip their head and they sort of shake their head a little bit. They don't like it, so they're not drinking enough.
Oh, there you go, guys. You're hearing, you're getting the tips. Leah, any other questions we got there?
We have a question from Alex George over on YouTube, and he's asking, after how many years he can retain the pigeon to the reproduction. So I think what he's asking is, for how many years will you breed a pigeon for, I think. John?
You can read that two ways. So maybe after how many years of racing does it go in the stock loft? That would be dependent on results normally. But how long will they go on for? Amore finished breeding last season. He hasn't filled any eggs this year, and he stopped halfway through last season. He was a 2006 pigeon, so he was 15 and was still breeding. D'Artagnan is still filling eggs this year. He's a 2007 pigeon, so he's now 15 and he's still filling. So, yeah.
A question: the older pigeons that you breed out of, do you find that the youngsters still race well out of them, out of a 10 or 12 or 14-year-old cock, or are they better to hold them back for breeders?
The very best ones I tend to hold back out of all the more when he was still breeding. We didn't race out of him. The last pigeon that was raced out of him direct was 2017, which was a very good cock that I retired actually at the end of last season. He won many prizes and top national prizes for me. But the other thing I do is that they don't rear them. Them old pigeons don't rear; they go under young pigeons to be, the eggs are floated very quickly, and then the young pigeons rear them. So, I think if you get old pigeons to rear, then you have maybe issues with the quality. Like us all, as we get older, we're not so keen, and. It's so it's the same I think with the pigeons. So you put them under young feeders, they pump them very well, and you don't get any problem.
Okay, so switching, mostly the old ones you keep the babies out of them and don't race them. Do you think though there is, like I say, your 15-year-old cocks there, whatever? Would you be afraid to fly the babies out of them?
Oh, no. I mean, well, I'd say that with D'Artagnan, the only reason we actually stopped racing his youngsters was they didn't generally do very well on the road. They would do okay, but we didn't really get any top racers out of him. But what we found was that his children were terrific breeders. And then it was the grandchildren that were winning. So it seemed pointless risking them on the road. So we actually stopped quite early racing anything from him. Everything we put to stock bred winners, but ones that went to the race team didn't necessarily win out of him direct. So it was definitely the next generation that performed better in the race basket. So that's why with him, with Amore, again, really high strike rate in the stock loft. So we did race to start with him, but then we wanted to keep the children. And also what happens is you get a demand for them. So, time you sell 6 or whatever out of a main cock in a year, you're only actually keeping, a few back yourself as well. So.
Right. But you were able to see that the children weren't doing it on the race team, but giving them a year, skipping one generation and bang. And I heard that a lot of the time through my tours of guys that will say, "Oh yeah, this is out of this super cock. It's all the grandchildren do it," and the children are basically the producers of the good ones. Those supers normally it skips one generation.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah,
quite interesting.
Can happen definitely. So yes.
Michael Peevler is asking the beautiful China doll over your shoulder. Why don't we explain to everybody what that's all about?
Yeah, so the China doll, I can zoom you in maybe a little bit there on that. I don't know if we can
Oh yeah, look at her.
see
She's
that.
beautiful.
So yeah, so the and also the DOIF award there as well. That's the Golden Wings. So these are both what we received in 2020 for winning the UK and Republic of Ireland DOIF. So the all-round champion loft, to use that word lightly, but for the UK and Republic of Ireland in 2020. So yeah, we went to Belgium and we actually got the Golden Wings, the Golden Pigeon back in 2021, and the China doll, which actually comes from Japan. Because of COVID, the Japanese couldn't bring it over until a few weeks ago when we met Ryan over there, and we was presented that then. So
Interesting.
Well,
It's interesting to see those types of awards they put together. Now, if they don't have channel racing, you can't participate for these, can you?
no, so last year there was we couldn't enter teams because you have to go from sprint racing, middle distance racing, long distance racing, and young bird racing. So you have to have results in all the different categories, and so it doesn't really work if we not getting them distances. So last year there was no award for the UK. Because we literally couldn't get into, make sure people could fill all the categories up. So,
well, there you have it.
Troy Spencer and Barloft is asking, John, what was your expectations going into the first two races? So going into your race season, what do you expect off the hop? Do you expect to win right off the hop, or do you set yourself up, or how does that work?
So this year, with a lot of the uncertainty and also the weather wasn't very kind early on. It wasn't great for training in them couple of weeks running up to when you need to. And as I said, it's been very cold, east winds a lot in the UK this year. So I didn't actually start my cocks. I just brought the hens out. So I just worked a team of hens for the first three races anyway, and then the cocks come out. They've had two now, but they haven't had much work. In fact, they've had two races, but they've only been in the basket 8 times in total, when one of them was today. So prior to their second race, they'd only actually had 5 training tosses and 2 races. So they're starting off slow. I'm hoping they will come into form later on, and if the channel opens up, they will come in later. So yeah, I went with a team of hens. I got some good hens, so it's not too much of a problem. But I hope to win each time I send. Obviously, it doesn't happen, but I never send to a race thinking I've got no chance.
So basically, what John says is every time he puts those damn birds in the basket, he wants to win. He's trying to win. You expect to win. He's a competitor. I don't think you send birds to the races. I don't think you send them just for training. I think you're out there to win when you go in. Am I right?
Yeah, and there'll always be, if I'm sending to a race, I will always, have some of the birds in there that I think have got a chance. There won't be, I won't send. So, yeah, I will send pigeons that haven't got a chance, in my opinion, because they're being set up for later in the season or the long races. So they're not there to win them races. They're there for a training toss. But if I'm sending, I will always make sure there's 2, 3, 4 pigeons in there that I think have got a chance on the day as well. So I have actually got you a couple of pigeons here that's being set up for this weekend. If you would like to see them at some point, then
Yes, that would be awesome if we could see that. Before we get to that, we just have one question from Ashley Steer. What's John's opinion on us actually going across the channel in the coming weeks and months? What do you think, John?
Well, I'm always a glass half full kind of person, so until it's definitely not going to happen, I will believe it is going to happen, and I will be aiming for for it to happen. There's lots of people putting in lots of good work behind the scenes as well, so we can only hope. So
and remain positive, right? That's what we have to do in this
exactly.
game. Remain positive.
Yeah, if you
Okay,
don't remain positive as a pigeon fancier, you'll soon be suicidal or worse.
One thing that's why we like working with John from Formula One. Always glass half full, always positive, upbeat. And I think that, I still think if you go into your loft and you're a positive person and that keep that glass half full, I think you come out with better results. I just think your mind's in the right spot to learn and to be positive. If you're constantly negative and saying, oh, this is shit and that and blah, 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 it's not good. You got to go in there positive.
100%.
speaking of positivity, let's see what you have to show us here, John. Looking forward to seeing this.
Okay, yes, I've only got a couple of hens there for you, but let me grab them 1 second.
All right.
Well, yeah, I think they're going to be either blues or checkers. I don't know. Let's see if we got. Let's see.
And guys, we really do appreciate the comments and questions. We're going to be on with John for another 15 minutes or so. If you have questions, now is the time, as John shows us a little John Gladwin show and tell.
Just a little bit, but so yeah, this is a hen that's actually been coming quite well for me. She's been out of the 5 races, she's been 4 times actually on the drop to the loft. Only last week that she was actually my fifth or sixth pigeon. Yeah, we had a bit of a rain affected race last week, and she actually dropped in absolutely sopping wet with a very pink wattle. Where she'd found plenty of rain on the way home, literally she sat on the board for about 30-40 seconds with the water dripping off her feathers and the towel. Yeah, she's one of my hopes for this weekend in the National. She will be going to the Guernsey, as I said earlier, it's a little island between us and France, 200 miles to me. Yeah, she's going to be my main hope, hopefully, for that race. I don't know if when we done the talks before, I mentioned this, but one little tip maybe that I picked up a few years ago from a very good fancier, and I've followed it quite a lot since. And I don't know if we can actually get close enough to really see this, but the little feathers, the covering feathers, the ones here on the flights,
right?
I always like to see on basketing that them feathers up on top, as you call them. Sometimes you will see them tucked underneath the primary flights.
Right.
But if they're all up on top and they're all showing on top, I always think that's a good sign of good health, good condition and contentment in the pigeon. Whenever it's been stressed, like, this has obviously been sat in the basket for the last sort of hour. So, it's got a little bit of stress on it. So they tuck back under. But when the pigeon is absolutely really on song, you'll always notice that all them covering little feathers are on top of the flights.
Interesting.
Yeah, and I mean, it doesn't make a bad pigeon a good pigeon when it's that. It just means that that pigeon is in, I think, super health, super contentment. And, it's a good little guide to picking your fancy pool pigeons and things like that. So just a little tip I use.
That hen, when you hold her up there and you see her face, she's very bright in the face. Underneath there, yeah, again, you see the feathers parting, basket conditions, nice. When you look underneath the pigeon, do you want to see them? How do you want to see them on the day of basketing?
Ideally, that should be nice and red, no scales. It should be clean as possible. If it's clean
and parting, those feathers should part. They should be. Yeah. So you see the chest there, nice and smooth. Yeah. You see this one's a nice elf. Hold her up again. I want to see her face. She's got a real pretty face, this hen. Up a little higher.
Hold her up. There we go.
Very nice hen. Now, what's she down from? She's got a lot of fight to her. I like this.
Yeah, she's actually a real mixture of all the main lines. So she's got the tip top in her. She's got the Reckham lines in her. So yeah, she's a bit of a 4-way mixture of all the main lines in the Francoise, but she's putting a very good CV together. She raced well as a baby. She raced well last year as a yearling. and say she's coming well this year. She's probably got about, I would say, somewhere between 8 and 10 positions to her name, including the win. So yeah, she's a good hen all round. She's very consistent, so always knocking around.
Now, do you prefer, for putting in the stock loft, do you prefer one-time race winners or super consistent?
Always consistent. So there's only one pigeon really that I've put to stock on a single race performance. And even that wasn't actually a single. He'd had 2 good performances, but he won the Young National for me, a pigeon we call Teresa's Boy. But he was just such a super character of a pigeon and had everything that, I looked for in a pigeon right from day one. Super intelligent. He won the race by such a big margin on a day that really shouldn't have won. All the other pigeons were in a completely different part of the country. And he got out in front and held his line. So for me, he showed that he had something super about him that was warranting to go to the stock loft. Normally, I like a pigeon to have at least 3 good performances before it goes to stock. As when we was round, we showed you John won the national last year. That pigeon's still in the race team and will race again. That pigeon, I think, has also had 2 other top 20 national positions, but will still race on. Simply because the parents are young, they can be reproduced as well. So that's another factor. So if the parents are older, or it's a line that you really want to keep in the stock loft, then you may put them in slightly quicker than ones where, the parents are younger and you can reproduce them.
Well, that hen looks absolutely super. Question for you. How is Silent John doing this season with his hens? Remember, we let the cat out of the bag there. How has he been doing? How's he biased? Come on.
John's had lots of problems. He's this year. He's been absolutely plagued. Firstly by the sparrowhawk, and then the peregrine. So he's lost 5 or 6 really good pigeons round the loft, being killed. Pigeons that have 2 of which was when he took the first 8 in the national. 2 of them have been killed round the loft, and so he's had a really slow start, and the pigeons are not really even trapping. They won't fly around the loft very easily, where they're just literally scared. So it's he's hoping that the problem seems to have gone away, so we say, and now he's just building the confidence back up. So he's hoping that his form's going to come a little bit later this season. But
I hope for him, because boy, he sure loves those pigeons. He puts lots of work into them. And again, you got a great family there. Those Francois pigeons you guys have are out of this world. Leah, we got another question?
We do. David Tracy says, once the season starts, how much loft flying or road training do you do between the races?
Again, there's no real set. So they come home on the Saturday from the race. They will rest all day Sunday. No loft flying at all Sunday. Monday, probably in the afternoon, depending on what the race was like. If it was a quick, easy race, then Monday morning they'll be back into a routine. But if not, then it may be Monday afternoon before I let them out. They will come out then twice a day, one way or another. So they'll either be road trained. If I road train, it's always early in the morning before I go to work. And then they'll be let out in the evening for a fly around the loft. If I don't think they require any road training, then they will just be let out morning and evening around the loft for an hour. This morning, this hen included, they all had all the pigeons that are going this weekend to the national all had a 40-mile training toss this morning. They were let go at 6:15 this morning for there. Normally, I wouldn't necessarily have trained today, but the wind direction has changed. So as I said, we've had these strong northeasterly winds all season. The wind's gone round to a more of a westerly direction, and it looks like it's going to stay there for the weekend. So I wanted them to have a reasonable fly in a different wind, get them used to that, which actually I think potentially was a good sign, because my hens, they all come back directly off the north, where they've suddenly got the wind behind them instead of on their nose. and they actually took 15 minutes longer than what the cocks did, which the cocks are nowhere near as fit. They've not had these races. They've not had the training tosses, but they obviously stopped, and probably because they wasn't so fit. But the hens went scooting through, which was my worry, which is what might happen on Saturday. So hence I wanted to give them that experience today. So again, it comes back, as we were talking earlier, thinking about what's ahead, trying to be one step ahead if you can, and give the pigeons the best chance possible.
Yeah, you see, lots of planning, guys. This isn't in a book. This is all feeling and watching and observing and learning. Let me ask you: have you ever not? You're getting through the season, and all of a sudden, maybe on a Wednesday, you just lock the birds down completely. Don't let them out. Leave them in. Let them rest up, and then send.
Yeah. I mean, and I'll tell you a story that you hear quite regularly is, someone goes on holiday for a week or a few days, and they lock the pigeons up on the Saturday after the race. Somebody goes around and, looks after them all week, feeds them water, but don't let them out. And then suddenly, that same person will send them on the Friday for them, and they come out and they win the race, especially towards the middle or the end of the season. Then pigeons have been shut up all week, and people go, oh, how did that win? Sometimes a rest is equally as important as the training and working the pigeon. And again, it comes from that observation. They will tell you if a pigeon's, had enough, you'll see they won't fly around home with the same vigor. They won't be bashing off if they're cocks after they've landed for a few seconds. They tell you that they need a rest, and just like us, sometimes we just need a down day and, not do too much work and, recuperate a little bit. And the pigeons are the same. Sometimes they need that couple of days off if it's been a hard season, and shutting them up won't do them any harm. But they will tell you, and it's reading them signs, I think, is half the battle.
Yeah, common sense, Leah. Can you hear it? I know I can.
I sure can. Let's take one more look at that beauty, and maybe we could get the band number on that one, John. So maybe we could follow it along this weekend. We certainly wish her the best of luck. What's the band number on it?
I don't know if you can see that, but it's a 20N pigeon. 601. Oh, he's going to wriggle. 60120. 60120.
60120. Let's have a look at her one last time, and we're going to wish her the best of luck this weekend. She's got a battle ahead of her, I'm sure. What a beauty. And you have Beautiful. One more to show us?
Yeah, and a different one, and something that's a little bit more unusual for me, but let me just move it over here. Down. Very, very rarely do I have late breds, but last year when we wasn't racing from France, and we couldn't actually get to Guernsey till quite late in the season even, so it was just inland racing. So I decided to pair my old birds up and race them right through the season, because we also even when we have the young bird nationals, we also have old bird nationals that run alongside them, so they're liberated together, but two separate results. So I decided to keep half a dozen of my best pairs paired up, or got them paired up and on eggs. The season, they've been long, they'd had enough on widowhood, so I thought let's try them on some eggs. So the eggs they were flying to, and the race was actually I think it was the 8th or 9th of September. The parents of this pigeon was actually raced on the 8th or 9th, whenever the race was, to the chipping egg that was then turned into obviously this youngster. Because they were my best pigeons, I decided actually, I would ring the offspring and keep them. And I then let them fly out all winter. Basically, I had open hole, so from first light to dark, they was flying out. Any nice days that we did get, they and I or my wife was going somewhere, I chucked them in the car probably 5 or 6 times, only out to about 16 miles was probably the longest they went. Didn't matter the direction. If my wife was going somewhere and it wasn't too, if it was, the sun was out, even though it was cold, they went. This is one of them. and she's actually raced quite well. She had fourth club, and I think it was about seventh or eighth in the Thames a couple of 2 weeks ago. Another week she was there. I had 6 drop together, and she was one of them. But she was a little bit slower going across the pad. But again, also if you look at her, she's actually still got 6, still carrying 6 nest flights.
Yeah, she got still baby flights.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, still got her baby flights. So, but yeah, so she's coming well. People say that late breds, are never any good, but again, it's all about putting the work in. With them. So say they flew out around home, had a few training tosses here and there, right through the winter, December, January, February. That was going in the basket. So, and again, she's going to go this weekend. She will probably go with the combine race, which is going to be about 200 miles, and we'll see how she goes.
What a super pigeon. And yes, guys, when I was there, I remember I think you had 6 or 7 that you had out flying. They were open hole, just open. Guys, you see, John is he's a different kind of guy. You do things differently. You try things. You're not afraid to experiment. And you totally see the cup half full on this one, and it's paying off. What a gorgeous hen. What's her ring number?
Well, she's actually carrying an old ring because I didn't even have any 21 rings left at that point. So she's actually carrying a 20 ring. So it's 20P 28860.
60. All right. Well, we wish her the best of luck. And what's she off of? What's the line?
She's actually off one of my better race cocks, pigeon I call Just the Start. I named him on the first time he scored in the national. I think he was 10th or 11th open when John took the first 8 positions, and then I had the next 2, and then the one after that as well. And he was one of them cocks that come that day, and I named him Just the Start because he was another pigeon I had the feeling for that was going to go on. I think he's now got, and bearing in mind we've not really had many national races, but I think he's now got. He's been across the water 4 times, and basically he's scored in the top 50 of the national in all four attempts. That's the father, so of him.
So question with this one here: if you get to go across that water, is this one that you're going to try?
Yeah, she will definitely go across this year, as long as the molt doesn't kick in and she starts chucking her nest flights. But while she's in good feather, she will go across. So
beautiful hen, 10 plus. I can see it in her voice. I love the face on her as well, piercing eye. From here, you can see a gorgeous, gorgeous pigeon. Leah, any more questions come in?
We do have John for a few more minutes, so I'm just going to finish up here and ask everybody's question. Paul Cooper, getting back to the feeding, John, he's asking, so you just feed Jerry Plus only with nothing else with it up to 250 miles?
Yep, exactly. Yep.
There we go. Okay, we have a question from Kristen Marshman asking, I came on a bit late, but I wanted to know if John mentioned if he preferred flying the hens or the cocks.
I fly both, probably with equal success in one way. Actually, if I had to pick just one sex to race, it would be hens. And simply because I think hens deal better without routine. I think cocks, to get the best out of cocks, you've got to be pretty regimented, do things at the same time. But with hens, they adapt much better. And with work and family life and everything else, routine for me doesn't happen very, very well. So hens, I think, adapt to that better.
Super. We have a question from Angel, but before we get to that, I just wanted to kind of remind everybody that, John, you don't race professionally. This is not your full-time job, correct?
100% correct. Yeah, I wish it was.
John has a full-time career. He also has a wife, and you have a family. You have children. And I know that your wife is a huge part of what makes you so successful. And I think we'd be remiss to not mention how much your wife is such a huge part of the team, correct?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, there's been many years that I literally wouldn't be able to even race without her. You know, it's the little things like, you know, I take the pigeons training on my way to work, let them go, but I wouldn't have time to get back home. To sort them out and then get to work. You know, if I'm in London, I have to be in London by 9 a.m. in the morning. It's best part of a 2-hour journey from door to door. So, you know, it's so that's why the pigeons have to go early, be let go. She'll get them in for me, give them the food I've left out for her. Same on the way home in the evening. I'll say, I'm on the train now. Let the cocks out for me. So then when I get home, I can just get them in, open the trap, get them in, and then concentrate on the hens or the youngsters. Same with the darkness system. You know, it's being away for 12 hours a day doesn't really allow for darkness. So again, I will darken them just before I go to bed at night, and then she'll lighten them, you know, in the morning for me after she's done the school run and stuff like that. So, and you know, so yeah, without her, racing literally wouldn't happen. So
very nice. Angel over on YouTube wants to know, how do you train your old bird team? How many tosses during the week and how many miles? Thanks.
So pre-season, I like to get as pretty much as I can into them. You know, it's within reason. This year, to say, the weather didn't really play ball, so they didn't have as much training as I would normally like. I would like to get them out to 50 miles at least before the first race. Bearing in mind our first race is, you know, around about 75 miles normally. During the season, it will depend. I like them, and again, this is just my little theory, if you like. I think you need to keep a pigeon switched on, so I like to give them at least one training toss in the week if possible. Sometimes they won't if it's been a hard race, but ideally I like to give them at least one training toss a week, normally in the middle of the week, because I believe if you train a pigeon every day, you'll see it'll come out that basket, it'll clear straight away. If you give it a week off, it will often do 2-3 circles and then go. Because I think it's, you know, the brain's not switched on. It's not, you know, thinking quick enough. That toss in the week seems to just sharpen them up a little bit.
Yeah, keep the pencil sharp, as they say.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I don't think you're saying you have to take them 100 miles, or you take them to the same spot if it's 20 miles or 30 miles, or if you work 50 miles. Take a little bit of that rust off and build that little bit of confidence in them again. Because again, when you release pigeons with 10,000, 5,000, 3,000, there's a shakeup. When you let them go as they're grouped together, you see it sharpens them back up and gets their mind, exactly like John said, focused and switched back on. Go ahead, Leah.
A few more questions here. Angry Brit says, has John ever used the bull breeding system, or does he simply pair up only?
Again, so I have a little bit of a hybrid system, if you like, between the two of them. So the traditional bull system, no, I don't use it. Again, it's too time consuming. You've got to be there all day, you know, switching the different hens into the cocks. So that doesn't work for me. What I have got is my main cocks. I've actually got a section, and they'll have 3 nest boxes in them. You know, one to the left, one to the right, and then the next one down. And they will actually have different hens in there with them, with the cock. So it'll be the one super breeding cock and 3 different hens. And the hens know them boxes, so they will stay in their box as such. They're not trying to fight each other. And the cock then actually goes between the different boxes, treads the hens, and then when the hens lay, the eggs get undersat. And then what I actually do with with our very best cock, so Amor, when he was filling the Prince of Wrexham and D'Artagnan, is I then take the hens away as soon as they lay. Excuse me. But I also have another hen that knows that box. So the hen gets a rest, because you only put in your best hen, so you don't want to overly use them either. You want to give them a rest between each eggs. next hen goes into that box. It takes sometimes a bit longer. It may be, it takes 10, 14 days for the hen to lay, but then you'll get 2 more eggs. The other hen's had a rest of a couple of weeks. She can come back in, and you start the system again. But that way you potentially getting, every couple of weeks you're getting, or say every 3 weeks you're potentially getting 12 eggs from one cock.
Very good. You see lots of ways to do it, Leah.
Absolutely. Manska Racing Loft over on YouTube. The bird that won the national that you put in the stock hasn't bred any winners for you yet?
Yeah, he's looking very promising, actually. He won the Young Bird National in 18, so he only went to stock in 19. And straight away, we've got children and grandchildren of him performing very well. Top 10 national positions, inland club winners, both for us and for other people that have brought children off him and put them to stock and then bred off them. So he's already actually sire and grandsire to winners, and say only went in the stock loft in 19. So the first ones from him obviously were 19 bred. So yeah, so very quickly he's breeding 2 generations of good winners. I should say with him as well is he wasn't a one-off pigeon. Both of his parents were actual big winners on the road. His dam is Guernsey Princess. She had first and third national from Guernsey, hence the name. And the father was called the Amal Cock. He won first Amal and fourth Amal back-to-back weeks against 4,000 plus pigeons in each race, flying the North Road. And then in turn, he was off a pigeon we call Recamo 83, who's, again, one of our top breeding cocks.
Yeah, there you see it. You see performance, and it goes down the line, so you don't have to worry. Formula One, Leah, I promise you they have it. And, I'm going to say a great compliment, Alfred from Combe Van Zoren. I got to get you guys in touch with each other because he wants to do some breeding with you. I know Alfred and his father Art are super flyers, and he says nothing but good things about Formula One. Leah, what else we got on the menu there?
Just a few more quick questions because I don't want to leave anybody out. It's so great for people that are participating. Thank you so much. All these great questions for John. Craig over on YouTube wants to know, how long do you leave the cocks with the hens after a race, and does it change with race distance?
Yes, it does change a little bit, but not so much on the distance, but also on how hard the race is. So you'll see sometimes the pigeons have hit that loft, they've had an easy race, they're roaring straight away. Other times, actually, the cock or the hen may have had a harder race and they kind of look at each other and not that interested at the moment. But, so they need a bit longer then, to recover and then get together in the bowl and have their time. So yeah, it will depend on the race, but that will range really from an hour to 4 hours. Occasionally later in the season, I may even leave them overnight and then separate them again the next morning. Just sometimes if you're feeling they're going a little bit stale, sometimes the overnight can actually, just bond them all back together again, you can get a good race then the week after.
And just to add to that, Craig asks, can I add to my question, if the race is on Saturday, when will the next time will he have the birds out?
So that's will be Monday, and again, depending on what the race was like, whether that will be Monday morning or Monday afternoon. Sunday is definitely a rest day. They will stay in the loft all day Sunday. I find if you let them out anyway on the Sunday, more often than not, they don't fly very well. They're sulking because they've been took away from their mates. And it's quite quick then to put bad habits into the pigeons, because if they fly for 5 minutes and land because they want to get in the loft to see if the hen's back or whatever, or they're just feeling a bit sulky, that can become a habit quite quickly, and you suddenly lose the pigeons wanting to fly around the loft if you're not careful. So Sunday's always a rest day, Monday morning or Monday afternoon, depending on how I feel the birds have responded from the race.
Super. And one last question here from Mike Green, and then a nice comment from Tracy. Mike Green asks, how old do you fly your old birds? How old do you fly your old birds?
As we said earlier, there is absolutely no set criteria. They don't stop at 3-year-old or 4-year-old. It will depend on the pigeon, to what time they will be stopped. If I feel they're a benefit into the stock loft, they will be stopped, quite early sometimes. Other times they will be pushed on. As I said earlier, I've got a hen that's 7 years old, still racing, still scored twice this year. There is no set criteria.
Super. And before we wrap this up, Tracy has a nice comment here, and I couldn't have said it better myself. She says, John, you have been a great inspiration to us new flyers. Thank you for all your tips and tricks, and I could not agree more. For those of us watching, John, and are interested in following the Formula One racing journey, where can they find you on social media or on a website? If you could just let everybody know.
Yeah, we Facebook. I'm on there as John Gladwin. Anybody can always send me a message on there. Any questions they've got. We do have a website as well, www.formula1lofts.com. Facebook is probably the easier, or send me a message on Messenger. Any questions or anything you want to know, then I will always do my best to answer. If it's during the day, you might not get a response straight away because I'll be at work, but I will always get to you and answer any questions.
Super. We're also posting up John's results over on our Feathers Elite auction page. Also, guys, if you missed a loft tour or are looking for more information on Formula One, you can head on over to our website, featherselitepigeonauctions.com or fepauk.com if you're in the UK, and take a look at our breeder directory where we have John from Formula One. We have his information up. You can click on his lot, and there you can see his loft tour down in the comments section. We also have a little bit of written information, as well as the friends' walls, of course, John's bloodlines, a little bit of information that will be updated throughout the season as we get some results from John coming in. So if you guys are looking for more information, you can certainly check out our website. Ryan, anything you'd like to add?
I'm going to say again, thank you very, very much, John. Full of information, guys. This man has a family of pigeons that have been winning, and they're still winning. They say these are the Franz Walls pigeons. These are now the Formula One pigeons. You've done a great job with them. You've kept them winning, and I mean, now they're yours. You're doing great with them. You're going to continue to do great. Good luck in this channel. I hope you get an opportunity to participate. I know your birds are going to be ready to go. I'm really interested to see how that late bred's going to do on the channel. If you guys get to cross the channel, we're going to have you back on because I want to hear when you start crushing them all. And
I've probably put the markers on there now, so you'll probably not come home on Saturday. That ain't gone.
What we would love to do, John, before Ryan wraps this up, is we would love to have you back maybe mid-August to check back with you, see how your racing season has gone, check in on your results, maybe bring some of your superstars of the season on to show everybody. But we'd really like to follow you along all season and check back with you if you will come back on the show maybe mid-August and talk about your season. I think that would be great, and I think our audience would love to follow along.
You've put the pressure on now, haven't you? Because I come on in August and say I've got nothing to say.
Hey, you got the doll. Remember the doll. Don't forget the doll, John. Hey, and you know what? When in doubt, John, just bring Silent John on, and we'll just look at him on the camera, and we'll just shake our heads and go, "That Falcon did it again. That Falcon did it again." No, this has been an awesome first time up. Again, we always throw John into the fire when it's first up. John's our man. He gets the results. You're great on camera, John. Guys, if you have questions, this is the guy to ask. He is an open book. Just be kind, respect. When he gives you an answer, don't chew him up or nothing. He's only going to give you the good info. He's not going to waste your time. I got to thank the audience. We got some good questions there today. It was a fun show, Leah.
It sure was. And remember, guys, to join us next Wednesday, Ryan, Feathers Elite, and friends, and we'll have a new Feathers Elite breeder on. We're not going to tell you who. You have to follow along to our page to find out. We'll have a new breeder on next Wednesday for you guys to talk to and ask your questions. Thanks so much, John. Ryan, I'm going to let you wrap this up. Go ahead.
All right, John. Well, good luck in the next few weeks. We will keep in touch. It's been a pleasure. Glass half full. As you see, the show's over. My glass is now empty. Until we talk again, John, be safe. Enjoy those pigeons. Say hi to John. Say hi to Teresa, everyone for me. And on behalf of the Feathers Elite family, thank you very much for giving us your very best.
Thank you very much. Much appreciated. And I hope everybody has a great day and a good weekend.
Enjoy a beer, John. It's on me.
Cheers, guys.
Thanks for flying with us.